Begin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali, and tonight I have an informative speech, and the information specifics going to be on onboard vehicles, onboard computers. Onboard computers are used in vehicles, and they called ECM, like electronic control model. They can be called also computer, and sometimes are called the brain. And the thesis on this is the vehicle's onboard computer is responsible for reduction of emission, fuel economy, and self-diagnostics. How many of you are acquainted with the computers in vehicles? How many people like automotive? Okay, well, it's our everyday transportation. So it is important that we learn about computers in vehicle. As I mentioned, computers, they are the brain. And these brains also have like a nervous system, so to speak. And the nervous system for these computers basically wires, harnesses of wires connected to devices such as sensors, parameters, and solenoids. Sensors are devices that are mounted on the engine and senses some values that delivered through electrical signals. The computer has a chip called PROM, Programmable Read-Only Memory. And it is the reference for the computer to know the values that is coming from the engine parts or the sensors and check in with itself through the PROM to know the values that's supposed to be operated at through these devices. Why the computers and vehicles? The reason for that is that the government standards and regulation demanded companies to manufacture vehicles that take care of our environment. And so the companies had to answer, and they came up with this system, which is high technology used in the vehicles today. And they reduce the emission, as I mentioned. Also, it came of a benefit through that, where we benefited from the economy and also better drivability. I could mention also that we had safety through the computer monitoring the operation condition of the engine, delivering to the computer and telling the computer, okay, we have so much oxygen in the stream of the exhaust, and the temperature of the engine is this much, the coolant, and so on. And the computer keeps monitoring and adjusting these systems to make the vehicle run efficient with less gas, because we're not wasting gas at this point here. The computer keeps checking that the mixture of the air fuel should be at 14.7 at the sea level. And if we go higher from the sea level, also the computer knows that and then checks again and readjusts. So that way we gotta keep perfect mixture going constantly. And that's how, in part, this device works. Now, what's some of the components designed for the computer? We have a charcoal canister which absorbs the unburned fuel, keeps it there until deceleration comes in place. That means when you release the accelerator, this canister through vacuum takes in the unburned fuel and delivers it sometime on certain condition that goes back to the combustion chamber. We have an air pump that pumps air into the stream of the exhaust. That means that the unburned fuel that's going through the exhaust system, it's taking more air, and when we're giving it more air, we are burning that unburned fuel. And that's why we have a cherry red exhaust. If you raise a car while it's working, you look at the exhaust, you're going to see that we have a cherry red exhaust because we are burning inside of that system. Also, the exhaust system, it has a double flare pipes. That means that if you go through a pot of water, you know that if you don't have two pipes, one inside of each other, then you may have a collapse of the exhaust system, and that will restrict the breathing of the engine, and therefore you will lose power. Also, a higher octane fuel plays a role here in reducing emission, because the higher the octane in the gasoline, it means that the cleaner the gasoline is, then we're going to have a cleaner burn. Also, we have a catalytic converter that has beads inside and converts harmful gases to become unharmful through the air and through these chemical reaction in the catalytic converter that reduces some kind of emission. Another piece, it would be exhaust gas recirculation. That device, it reintroduces burned or from the exhaust, brings it back to the combustion chamber to lower the space in order to lower the temperature of that combustion chamber in order to reduce nitrous oxide. So it is very clever to use this kind of system in order to reduce emissions by burning the gasoline in vehicles. Economy, because we are controlling the air-fuel mixture. So we deliver actually a perfect mixture to the engine. No waste of gas. And whatever unburned gas, as I said, is going to be collected in the canister, charcoal canister, and that will be used later under certain condition of operation of the engine. Thirdly, self-diagnostics. The computer has the ability to check constantly and see what is not functioning on the engine, and therefore it will deliver a code into the dashboard telling you that something is wrong here in the system. And by grounding the computer by a technician, of course, it will display some codes and can tell you the oxygen sensor is not operating. At that point, you need to check the circuit itself, the electrical circuit, or the sensor itself could be at fault. So that is very good, because if the computer can tell us what is wrong on the engine or in the vehicle, we have some kind of problem elimination right there. So that will reduce the cost, and it is accurate to pinpoint where the problem is. Engineers are working on other systems, like for safety, that can tell you what is going on the road ahead of you. if we have poor vision, okay, and we cannot see ahead of ourselves because of the weather or whatever the reason may be, the computer will tell you then there is an object on the way and can give you a warning. There may be a deer or somebody stuck in front of you, and so that way it will warn you, and then it will become safety for you and for others. And in conclusion, this innovative and high technology, such as computers, engine controls, has gave us benefit of all these things, such as reduction of emission, economy, and self-diagnostics. With that, thank you very much for your attention. Any questions, please?
Questions?
Why did you pick that topic?